Singer-songwriter Zuli Jr. has done a lot in his career already, marking off steps into trap-influenced production, guitar-driven indie rock, and seemingly everything in between since his 2017 debut. While people throw around the term often, he just delivered his most personal project, the Snake EP, stripping things down to the studs for incredibly affecting cuts like Pistol, The Snake, and Trust the Process. We sat down with Zuli to discuss the making of this latest release, including its strongest musical themes, how to bear it all in your music, and what listeners have thought of the record so far.
When I went for the pistol, I let you get in my head. Tired of feeling belittled, I felt I'm better off dead.
Zuli, thanks for being with us. Congratulations on the release of The Snake. I wanted to start it by going backwards a little bit. When did you start fleshing out the idea for this project? Tell us a bit more about how all of this came together.
Yeah, well, the project started when I moved, and I was kind of just workshopping the songs and trying to figure out what my next move was. I had moved to LA, and I was kind of getting my bearings on things, and I became friends with a producer named Max Harwood, who was from a band called Louis Del Mar, and me and him hit it off, and we became friends, and we started fleshing out the songs together. And that process kind of was what informed the direction of the music and the production and how things were kind of shaping up. So it was a bit of a process of just kind of like getting back to my roots and like really getting back more into the core of what makes a song good, and then like no fluff. That was kind of like our whole thing.
So, I mean, it's had a little bit of time to breathe now. So, I mean, what have been the reactions as you've gotten from it? You've had a chance to perform it a few times. So how have people responded in a live setting?
Really, really well, honestly. You know, it's funny. A lot of my music in the past has been a little bit more like attention grabbing and like trying to, you know, upbeat or whatever you want to call it. And these are much more reserved and kind of more like makes you lean in kind of as a listener. And it's been cool, like playing like the title song, The Snake, at a recent gig. It was like, people haven't heard a song like that before necessarily. It's a tough song in the sense that it's like, you know, kind of like a villainizing yourself song.
You can call me the snake, great. Tell your family and friends about the text that I sent. It's too late, late.
And people resonate with that, you know? That's just how it goes, right? Like they always say, like the thing you're afraid to say is the thing you should start with, kind of. And I am firsthand proof that I feel like that's true.
On like sort of a structural note, in terms of this being an EP, do you regard this as like the third chapter in the Zuli Jr. story, or is this sort of like a halfway point in between?
There was a lot of talk about like, oh, should we make this into like a full album, or is this gonna be like an EP and then there's gonna be another EP after it that's gonna kind of like combine it into like a full-length record? I do think that there's something beautiful about a really short piece of work that's like 5 songs basically that really says what it needs to say. Despite it being an EP and despite it being 5 songs, it does feel, at least to me, even just listening, like it's not too long, but it's so like heavy in some ways that it feels like a fully fleshed out project. So I would almost say it's like a 2.5 maybe.
To get a bit more into the music, you start the EP off with Me and My Song.
I really went and fucked myself this time.
Which it begins with these like really chaotic drums and these like distorted guitar lines, and that's something that ends up coming back a few times as you work through the track list. So what was it about that motif that really caught your attention? Like what really aligned with the story you were trying to tell on the record?
Really heavy distortion and stuff has been a bit of a through line through all of my ebbs and flows as an artist and me experimenting and trying new genres and things. And when we were doing those guitars, that was something we were really excited about, and they just had this like venomous, like nasty, gnarly quality to them that I think me and Max both felt like was such a obvious anchor to just kind of like anchor in not only the message of the lyrics and the songs and the whole storyline, but just giving it this like musical edge that you can really feel, and it really like, you know, it's so aggressive in such a way that feels natural to me and like my musical inclinations, but also doing something bigger than that and like really emphasizing what the whole project has to say.
I'm glad you brought up the concept of vulnerability, because on social media and stuff and talking about the album and the lead up for it, like, you didn't shy away from the fact that being this vulnerable was a challenging process. So what was it that got you past the point to actually be able to open up in your music like that?
Just realizing that I have no control. I have nothing to lose. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. I've had some really high highs. I've played with some amazing artists. I've toured. I've had label deals. I've da-da-da-da-da. And I'm kind of at square one again. And while sometimes that could be a little discouraging, I feel I might as well just be myself, and I might as well just say what I need to say and let the music speak. And I think that I'd moved to LA, I'd gone through a really bad breakup, I was, you know, kind of picking up the pieces again, and I felt like this EP was something I just was like holding close to my chest, and I needed to release it and speak my piece. Honestly, I feel like in the social media campaigning and stuff for the EP, I almost feel like I could have gone even further, but I want to also have like a level of respect for the music too, where it's like, you know, I don't want to necessarily just like do anything clickbaitable for the music. Like the song The Snake, for example, is like, you know, it's like, I think it's a very vulnerable, intense listen. It's like, you know, you really are like, if you're listening to that song, it's like very specific. Like you're not putting that on in the background per se.
Right.
So, you know, I wanted to make sure to like give the integrity that the music deserves, and maybe you relate and maybe you don't, and that's okay too. So